Why, hey there, little fella. Is SpongeBob, your master at home? Perhaps I could just come inside for a minute and demonstrate our fine snail products.
Plankton can't stop being sus as hell. Put yourself in Bikini Bottom for a second, and imagine a tiny villain who treats Bikini Bottom like his private laboratory. Plankton's only 1 inch tall, but he's armed with giant robots and crazy inventions. What if I told you his 25-year mission to steal the Krabby Patty formula is a decoy? Picture this. A mad scientist, yes, tiny, laughing maniacally as beakers bubble over with color. He pops a lighted fuse and nothing. Why? After all that effort, he still can't swipe one burger recipe. Let that sink in. This is not your average cartoon villain. 1 minute, Plankton is the chum bucket owner. The next, he's masquerading as your best friends. Here's a clue. See the masks they're wearing? Each disguise is a pattern interrupt, pulling off that "who's that" moment. Episode after episode, he leaps between identities. As Gary the Snail, as Sandy Cheeks, even as Mr. Krabs himself. In one scene, he's brain-controlling Bikini Bottom's entire Krabby army. In another, he's sabotaging a science expo with a fire-breathing robot. Why would this pint-sized guy go to such extremes just for a burger recipe? Plankton is supposed to be simple. He wants the Krabby Patty formula. He wants to destroy Mr. Krabs, and he wants to become the most powerful creature in Bikini Bottom. That's the joke. But watch him closely, and something starts feeling off. Because Plankton doesn't just want the formula, he's obsessed with it. He has spent years building machines, disguising himself, manipulating people, and risking everything just to get one tiny piece of paper that supposedly contains a burger recipe. And somehow, that isn't even the weirdest part. Think about how many times Plankton actually gets close. He has impersonated people, controlled SpongeBob, invaded the Krusty Krab, and even managed to turn entire situations in his favor. Yet, whenever success is sitting directly in front of him, he finds some spectacularly stupid way to ruin it. At first, you laugh because, well, it's Plankton. But then you notice the pattern. He doesn't seem capable of walking away. Even when stealing the formula makes absolutely no sense anymore, he keeps coming back to the Krusty Krab. Like this tiny green man has a personal appointment with failure. And that makes his rivalry with Mr. Krabs much stranger. Because Mr. Krabs clearly hates losing his formula, Plankton clearly wants to steal it. But underneath all of that, there's something almost personal about the way Plankton keeps chasing him. He doesn't just want the Krabby Patty. He wants to beat Mr. Krabs. And that becomes obvious whenever Plankton gets the chance to prove that he's smarter, more powerful, or finally one step ahead. Except there's a problem. For someone who claims to be a genius, Plankton spends an unbelievable amount of time doing things that make absolutely no sense. And once you start looking at his obsession through that lens, the Krabby Patty formula stops looking like the goal. And this is where Plankton's whole plan starts falling apart. Because if the Krabby Patty formula is really the ultimate prize, why does Plankton spend so much time making stealing it unnecessarily complicated? He could focus on one strategy, improve it, and eventually get closer to winning. Instead, he keeps inventing another ridiculous scheme. One day he's disguising himself, the next, he's building some absurd machine. Then, he's manipulating SpongeBob, trying to sneak into the Krusty Krab, or attempting to get someone else to do the dirty work for him. And every failure somehow makes him try even harder. That's what makes his obsession so funny. Plankton isn't just failing. He's professionally failing. He's got an entire laboratory, advanced technology, a computer wife who is usually smarter than him, and enough time to plan elaborate operations. And somehow, his master plan still ends with him getting launched across Bikini Bottom. But there's another detail that's easy to miss. Plankton rarely seems satisfied with simply causing trouble. He wants the formula specifically. Even when there are easier ways to make money, gain influence, or compete with the Krusty Krab, he keeps returning to the same target. And that starts to make his rivalry with Mr. Krabs feel less like a business competition and more like a personal grudge that has completely taken over his life. The funniest example is when Plankton finally gets close enough to success that you start thinking, Okay, this might actually work. And then Plankton does something so unbelievably Plankton that the entire plan collapses. Not because SpongeBob outsmarted him, not because Mr. Krabs had some secret weapon, because Plankton couldn't stop being Plankton. That person is Karen. And if you want to understand just how ridiculous Plankton is, you don't need to look at Mr. Krabs or SpongeBob. You just need to listen to his wife. Karen has watched Plankton come up with countless plans, and she usually knows exactly how they're going to end before he even finishes explaining them. That's what makes their relationship so funny. Plankton thinks he's the mastermind. Karen knows she's married to a tiny green man who can spend an entire afternoon explaining a plan that falls apart in 30 seconds, and yet she still helps him. That's the strange part. Karen isn't just his computer. She's often the voice of reason, the strategist, and sometimes the only person in the room capable of recognizing that Plankton's latest idea is completely insane. But Plankton rarely listens. He'll ask for her advice, ignore it, fail spectacularly, and then somehow act surprised. And Karen has every reason to walk away. She knows what he's like. She knows how obsessed he is with the formula. She knows how often his plans fail. She knows that he'll probably drag her into another ridiculous scheme tomorrow. Yet she stays. That tells you something about Plankton that the Krabby Patty rivalry doesn't. Because underneath all the shouting, scheming, and constant attempts to steal the formula, Plankton clearly depends on Karen. He needs someone who believes he's a genius, even when the evidence is fighting against him. And somehow, despite everything Plankton does, Bikini Bottom never really treats him like the threat he thinks he is. Think about that. This is a guy who repeatedly tries to steal from the Krusty Krab, manipulate people, take over businesses, and occasionally put the entire town in ridiculous danger. Yet, everyone reacts like he's an annoying neighbor. Mr. Krabs obviously hates him, but even their rivalry has become routine. Plankton shows up with another scheme. Krabs sees him coming, and somehow, the entire situation turns into another Tuesday in Bikini Bottom. SpongeBob is even stranger. Because for all the times Plankton tries to use him, SpongeBob still seems genuinely willing to help. And that's important. SpongeBob doesn't look at Plankton and see some terrifying supervillain. He sees Plankton. Just Plankton. The tiny guy who's always trying something stupid. Even Patrick occasionally gets dragged into Plankton's schemes, usually without fully understanding what he's helping with. And then there's Sandy. She's one of the few characters smart enough to recognize when something is genuinely wrong. Yet even she doesn't treat Plankton like some unstoppable mastermind. That's the recurring joke. Plankton takes himself incredibly seriously. Everyone else sees a tiny nuisance. And that might explain why his plans are so elaborate in the first place. If nobody respects you, eventually you start doing ridiculous things just to prove that you're worth taking seriously. Plankton doesn't just want the formula. He wants Bikini Bottom to look at him and finally admit, "You actually won." But every time he gets close, his own ego gets in the way. He'll have an advantage and immediately turn it into a performance. He'll have a simple opportunity and make it unnecessarily complicated. He'll be one step away from victory and somehow decide that now is the perfect moment to explain his entire plan. And that is where Plankton's biggest problem starts becoming obvious. Plankton's biggest weakness isn't that he's small. It's not even that Mr. Krabs keeps beating him. It's that Plankton desperately needs everyone to know that he's smarter than them. And that need keeps ruining everything. Take almost any serious plan he's ever made. Somewhere along the way, Plankton gets an advantage. Maybe he's fooled someone. Maybe he's inside the Krusty Krab. Maybe he's finally holding the thing he spent years trying to steal. Then he starts talking. He explains the plan. He celebrates too early. He tries to prove how clever he is. And suddenly, the advantage disappears. It's almost impressive. Most villains lose because the hero figures out their weakness. Plankton sometimes loses because he can't resist giving the hero a full presentation on how he's about to win. That's not strategy. That's insecurity with a laboratory. And you can see it in his relationship with Mr. Krabs. Plankton doesn't just want Krabs defeated. He wants Krabs to know that he's been defeated. That's why he keeps turning simple victories into elaborate schemes. If he only wanted money, there would be easier ways to get it. If he only wanted food, he could probably find something cheaper than spending years trying to steal one recipe. But Plankton needs the victory to mean something. He needs it to prove that he's the genius he believes he is. And that makes every failure hurt more. Because when SpongeBob ruins one of his plans, Plankton isn't just losing a business opportunity. His entire identity takes another hit. So he tries again, then again, then again. And maybe that's the real reason Plankton is so suspicious. Not because he's constantly trying to steal the Krabby Patty formula. Not because he builds ridiculous machines or spends half his life plotting against Mr. Krabs. It's because almost everything he does seems to come back to the same thing, proving that he matters. Plankton wants to be feared. He wants to be respected. He wants to beat Mr. Krabs so badly that everyone in Bikini Bottom has no choice but to recognize him. But underneath all that confidence is someone who clearly cannot handle being ignored. That's why losing to SpongeBob is so humiliating.